because there's so many Aries placements right now in the sky, I think it's important to also remember that like sometimes when there's like a stellium that's really activating by transit, like you'll notice collectively a lot of people having that ailment.
Welcome to Conversations with the Planets with Lori Kaufman and Alicia Heiser, a podcast that roots the wisdom of the stars into our lived experiences here on Earth and weaves the power of diverse healing modalities together with astrology.
I'm Lori Kaufman, an astrologer, tarot reader, writer, and teacher. I co-lead the Asteroid Special Interest Research Group for NCGR, an astrology organization, and I offer all different sorts of readings, online and in person.
I'm Alicia Heiser, an astrologer, herbalist, and witch living in Oregon on Kalapuya land, and I offer astrology consultations and teachings aimed at helping you honor your most authentic self and trust your intuition. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Conversations with the Planets. And today we're going to be talking about medical astrology and the Zodiac man and the correspondences between different parts of the body and the different astrological signs, which is a really exciting topic. So, hey Lori, how's it going?
Hi, good. How is it going?
I'm pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen because I have an image of the Zodiac man up. And this is a ancient image that just shows all the correspondences between the different parts of the body and the signs of the zodiac. And it goes, from Aries ruling the head all the way down to Pisces ruling the feet. And we'll talk about each of the 12 zodiac signs and the different parts of the bodies that correspond with them. And a bit about the history of the zodiac man and honestly the concept of correspondences in general. And I'm also an herbalist, so we can bring in some self-care and herbal recommendations for each of the zodiac signs. But
Yeah.
essentially, the concept of the zodiac man is very reflective of this underlying philosophy that comes with astrology that's as above, so below, right? That's the entire like argument for why astrology, right, is that whatever the planets are doing in the celestial sky above us reflects what's going on in our bodies in the material realm here on Earth, and also what as below so above, right? And so it's this both
Yeah.
ways of communication and correspondences that goes all the way back to Platonic theory and Platonic thinking. And also with correspondences, I'll say, we've talked about this a number of times on the podcast, but there's official correspondences all over the place between rocks and zodiac signs and herbs and body parts and this and that. And there's a lot of significance, as we work with the zodiac man, and this, list of correspondences that have existed between the zodiac signs and the parts of our body for hundreds, if not thousands of years. But they're also, correspondences don't just have to be things that are handed down to us by experts or like just because
Yeah.
astrology says that, like Sagittarius has an affinity for the hips. I also find that Venus and Libra make sense as, having an affinity for the hips because of the balance they provide in our body, right? And so if there's ways that you find your own meaning or significance when you're, making sense out of medical astrology and the connections between your body and the zodiac signs, those are also significant. We don't just have to take what's been handed down to us and stop there. We're allowed to keep exploring. But this is a really useful tool. A lot of people find a lot of really cool synchronicities when they dig into the zodiac man in their own birth chart.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, let's dig into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I think we should start by kind of talking about how to know what is prominent or what to really even
Mm-hmm.
look for. Because I have found that whatever body part that we're about to talk about that rules your ascendant sign ends up typically being the first thing that goes wrong or is very prominent looking in your body. Depending on, yeah, like so if you're an Aries rising, there's something prominent about your head and so on. And if you get really stressed out, then that body part that rules your ascendant might be one of the first things to start giving you some issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also definitely look at your sixth house for health or any kind of problems you might have. Your chart ruler is going to be really important. And then if you have any like stelliums or really important or prominent energies.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondarily, I really like to think about the annual perfections, the timing technique.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we did an episode on that, and we did talk about how this shows up. But I have found that to be one of the biggest indicators of like any health issues I've ever had. I have been pretty lucky and have been pretty healthy, but I've definitely had some like very minor issues, and they always coincide with like any injury I've ever had has coincided with whatever perfection year I was in. So I
Mm-hmm.
really encourage looking at that when something goes wrong or like, and it doesn't even have to be major. Like when I was 30 in a seventh house perfection year, which is Capricorn for me, I was having knee issues, um, specifically related to relationships, and the knee are Capricorn,
Mm-hmm.
which is the perfection year I was in. So it wasn't like I injured it or had like a really bad thing happen. It was just, it kind of bothered me and then it stopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I think as we move through these, you are going to be most likely to experience the issues or prominence in the rising sign, but I would also encourage like if you've had any issues with any of these signs or body parts or anything,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about when that happened and what was being activated in your life and in your chart at that time.
That's
And
really
what
well said.
area of life is that sign in? Because that could also be causing that stress that activated it in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a whole, like a couple of episodes about how to work with houses in astrology. And so if that's
Hmm.
also a newer concept for you, you can go explore those episodes. So, if you know you have a Capricorn fifth house and then you're doing something with your kids that leads to a knee injury, there can be correspondences like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, really focusing on the ascendant because the ascendant rules our body, and our physical health. And then the sixth house also rules our physical health, but the ascendant, like that's you, right? And so that's why it's so important when you're looking at what's going on in your body. As far as imbalances and also just like extra focus on certain areas. Like Lori, you said really well, if you're getting more stressed and then imbalance occurs and then issues arise that might be related to the zodiac sign associated with your ascendant, but also like I'm a Libra rising and we all just pee a lot because Libra rules the
Right.
kidneys. And
Right.
there
And the
can be
bladder.
issues with that, or it could just be like there's more of a focus. And in some ways that can be good too if your kidneys are
Yeah.
filtering things well and not over filtering.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's another thing I wanted to bring up too is like the body part that is ruled by whatever your ascendant sign is might just be prominent. So, like
mhm,
Geminis might have really prominent arms or shoulders or
yeah.
hands or fingers, or you might work with your hands. Like, it's not always like a bad thing.
Mhm,
But it was really interesting. I did a whole series on the medical astrology on TikTok, and I made a like 2 to 5 minute video for each rising sign and talked about like what issues you may have, and the comments have been fascinating. Especially like issues that people had during birth or like when they were babies all coincided with their rising signs. So it's been really cool to read those.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, And also, as we go through these correspondences, sometimes there can be overlapping correspondences. So, like
Hmm.
Capricorn rules the knees, but then Saturn, as the ruler of Capricorn, also rules the knees. Or,
Right.
like if you're thinking about the blood and circulatory system, there can be kind of a co-rulership between Mars and Aries and Sun and Leo. So sometimes, that's part of what I'm saying too, with like correspondences aren't just like one to one, hard and fast, super simple. Um, they're living, right? And so there's a lot of significance that we can pull through our own understanding of our bodies and the zodiac and herbs and all the things. So,
Yeah, and sometimes the astrologers didn't always agree in the
yeah.
ancient times. There were a couple, like the eyes are a specific one.
Hmm.
Sometimes some astrologers placed like the part around your eye with Cancer, or like the eyes as Aries in general, or like some astrologers place the lower half of the jaw with Taurus, but the upper half with Aries. So
Yeah.
sometimes you get a little bit of a weird, like nuanced response depending on which ancient astrologer you're reading.
Yeah. And that's where like my Jupiter and Sag is like looking at this as a big picture thing and zooming out can also help. Like Aries rules
Yeah,
the head,
yeah.
head stuff has to do with Aries. And then if you get super granular about it, like you may find significance. And if you do, that's great. But if not, like don't
Mhm.
get caught up in it.
Yeah, and I've also been finding that there's some interesting correlations between oppositions sometimes.
Mm,
Because I started doing some videos on like advice for like your body based off your rising sign in the medical astrology, and I realized like sometimes the advice is the same for the sister signs. Like
mm,
Aries both Aries and Libra both need to drink water, but for Libra it's because of the bladder and kidneys, and for Aries it's because you need to cool down and you probably have a
mm,
headache.
hmm.
Um, so it was interesting. It was interesting to see when I was kind of planning that out or thinking about it. I was like, oh, the advice is often like the same for the sister signs or has some sort of parallel or like both Leo and Aquarius you could put circulation with or like
Hmm.
certain things like that. So
Yeah, that
yeah,
is interesting.
it is very interesting to see how those oppositions play into each other a bit.
Yeah, that is. Should we dig in?
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, so we'll start. Aries is the ram. And as we've said enough times, we're also recording this while like every planet ever is in Aries. Um, so
Yeah.
lots of Aries, right? But
Lots
Aries
of
rules the
Aries.
head. I have found that a lot of people who have significant Aries in their charts have had a lot of concussions and head injuries. So that
Yes.
can be a very literal way of looking at it. Or if you get too into Aries energy and you're really impulsive, like I actually have an Aries stellium friend who will like literally dive headfirst into the earth. And then she like concussed herself recently and she's like, I need to stop doing this. I'm like, yes. That's like so Aries. You're like, blah, and then you hurt yourself.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Aries, I'll just say all the things and then Lori, I'll let you because you with your Aries moon, I know you probably have so much to say.
I do have a lot
um,
to say.
Aries also rules the adrenals and adrenalized system, like the
Mhm.
adrenalized ways of being. So, drinking a lot of coffee, exerting a lot of energy, really pulling on your adrenals to get all the active Aries stuff done. But if you live in Aries energy for too long, you can deplete your adrenals and go into adrenal fatigue, which we can talk a
Yes.
bit more about in a bit. Um, yeah, what else would you say about Aries?
Well, Aries also rules the head, the brain, the skull, the face, the upper jaw, and the eyes, depending on who you ask. Um, and so yeah, I have noticed that a lot of Aries rising specifically, but this can also go for anybody with prominent Aries, have like big heads or like there's
Hmm.
something prominent about your head or you might have a scar on your face or somewhere. I've also noticed a lot of Aries prominent people have like bigger foreheads. The comments in my Aries video was like it'll make your whole day. They were so funny, all talking about their big heads. Um, hilarious. I also have noticed, and I actually figured this out through my dad, but a lot of Aries risings had a lazy eye as a kid.
Hmm.
And my dad had a lazy eye for a few years when he was very young and had to wear an eye patch for years. And I found this in like a bunch of air like other Aries risings. Like I like made that joke with them and they were like, "Oh my God, me too." And then I said that in the video on TikTok and I had so many Aries risings comment that they also had a lazy eye as a kid. So that was an interesting one that kind of came out of
That is
that.
interesting.
Um, yeah, or like needing glasses young or having perfect eyesight. I have noticed like a weird one or the other, with your eyes or something prominent about your eyes, which is interesting because I have 20/10 vision and like anytime I've ever been to the doctor, they've made comments about how perfect my eyesight is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm ruled by my Aries moon. So I do think like, yeah, it's always one extreme or the other. So good eyes or bad eyes. But also just like inflammation in your head or
Yes.
face or
Or
just
honestly,
like,
just general inflammation can be an Aries
yeah,
thing. I know now with,
that's
I mean, by
true.
the time this is released, we won't have as much Aries energy in the sky, but if
Yeah.
you know, if you're going through a lot of Aries transits, looking out for like what, minimizing inflammation in your body, especially if you're in an Aries perfection year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And like Aries also tends to like overheat.
Yeah.
So, finding different ways to like cool yourself down, whether emotionally or physically.
Absolutely. I always, with Aries and Mars activation, I'm like, go for a walk, like expel that
Yeah.
energy, get exercise.
Yeah.
For inflammation, antioxidants are really, really fantastic. A lot of mint teas, like rosemary, mint, lemon balm, thyme, oregano, are really
Yeah.
good anti-inflammatories, particularly like mint and lemon balm and skullcap are more cooling in that way, which can help with Aries.
Yeah.
Fish oils and getting enough like omega 3s and healthy fats in your diet is really good for managing inflammation. Um, and then also with adrenal fatigue, like slowing down and taking a break, which can be really hard when you're in an Aries place. But like when you get into an adrenalized place, you have depleted the stores of your body and you need to rest to recover, or you'll just get sicker and sicker. So it's
Yeah.
really important when you feel yourself getting burnt out and overwhelmed that you do stop and take a break because Aries is like the match it'll burn out.
Yeah.
Adaptogens can be really, really helpful in recovering your adrenals and regaining energy.
Hmm.
When you take herbs internally, like talk to your doctor and make sure they're safe for you before taking them internally. I really like Eleuthero for recovering from adrenal fatigue and taking it every day as a tincture in the morning for a month or two. It'll like really give you more energy. You don't want to take it long term, but it can just help you get your spark back. Or like if you're recovering from like long COVID or, chronic illness. Ashwagandha is a really popular adaptogen. But yeah, like rest, supporting your adrenals through adaptogens, reprioritizing your to-do list, like really simple, but even just being like, okay, what are the 3 things I can do today?
Yeah.
Or, checking in with yourself every day. Because Aries, actually, Lori and I were just talking about this before we started recording, how Aries is like
Yeah.
impulsive and inspired and you got to do it right now or it won't happen. And so it's like every
Yeah.
day checking in of like, okay, how many spoons do I have from like disability justice theory, right? Do I have a
Yeah.
lot of spoons right now where I have a lot of energy and I can like bust through my to-do list and then maybe tomorrow's a rest day? Or did I like not sleep very well? I feel like insomnia can also be a big Aries thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then if you didn't sleep well, then maybe you do less that day because you don't want to deplete yourself. Um, yeah.
Yeah. And I talk about this a lot for Cancer energy as well. So I definitely think if you have a lot of Aries and Cancer in your chart, like me, this might resonate. But like, yeah, going off what you were saying, like you really have to listen to that Aries impulse. And like in Cancer too, like it's ruled by the moon. So every other day it's in a
Yeah.
different sign. So it's
So
constantly
changeable.
changing its mind. So allowing yourself space and time to just like to change your mind or to do whatever you needed to do. Like the best thing I always say I ever did for myself was to like start my business and just allow myself to be on my own schedule
Hmm.
because like sometimes you just have this impulse and you need to do it right now. And if you don't do it right now, then it's never gonna get done. You're never gonna go back to it.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, that sucks sometimes. Like I think sometimes it can be a superpower and then sometimes it can be incredibly annoying when you have the urge to do something but you're not home and you're like, "Oh, I'll do it later," and then you just never do it later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's well put though. Should we move
Yeah.
on to Taurus?
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think if there was any other Aries things. Yeah, I guess like we talked about inflammation, but like fevers and headaches.
Yeah.
Oh, that was what I wanted to say. I think also like because there's so many Aries placements right now in the sky, I think it's important to also remember that like sometimes when there's like a stellium that's really activating by transit, like you'll notice collectively a lot of people having that ailment.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a palm reader and I work this event every year that was just last weekend, and I'm one of the only palm readers there, so everybody does what isn't available. And I noticed that every single person's headache line was activated last
Mm-hmm.
weekend. Like, and if you're unfamiliar, palm reading is it was created as a form of ancient Chinese medicine to diagnose the body back in the day before they had MRI machines, basically. And I just noticed again and again, like every single person was dehydrated and had a headache. And I kept asking them, like, do you have a headache? Like, what's wrong with your head? And every single one of them was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I mean, six planets
Yeah.
in Aries, that's
Yeah. And I
that'll
will
do it.
say one thing that is fantastic for headaches and also is just really good Aries medicine is
Hmm.
acupuncture. Getting poked with
Yeah.
needles is so Aries. There's thousands of years of evidence that acupuncture is incredibly effective. I swear by it. Like my entire pregnancy, it really helped with all my ailments, and my baby was born right on time, which tends to happen with acupuncture babies. I think
Mm.
acupuncture is probably what made me fertile and able to conceive, among other things like acupuncture. It helps with blood pressure issues, insomnia, stress, like so much stuff. Like I cannot sing the praises of acupuncture enough. But headaches, a little bit of essential oil can be great. Getting fresh air, either like figuring out whether your headache is expanding or constricting. And so if it's an
Mm.
expanding headache, getting like a cool eye patch or like a cold shower can be really nice. If it's more
Yeah.
constricting, then like the warmth can help. Um, but yeah, those are some things to help with all the Aries. And then maybe this is our transition into Taurus. Like Aries brings you up into your
Yeah.
head and up and out and, fire energy. And part of the antidote to that is like moving more into that Taurus and like coming into your body, doing a body scan, feeling your feet on the earth, and
Yeah.
coming back down so that I have Mercury on the ascendant, so I think a lot and I will feel my head get tense when I have too much energy up here, right? So that can be helpful for a
Yeah.
variety of energies, but especially with Aries.
Yeah. Yeah, and even just like avoiding caffeine or
Yeah.
like not overdoing it or like eating or drinking things that are cold to cool you
Hmm.
down. Like those kind of things can really offset that like
And
tendency.
moistening too. Make sure you're taking things that are
Yeah.
moistening because some cold things can be drying, but Aries is already dry. So, like, nourishing yourself with moisture is also important.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Taurus.
Yeah, Taurus.
Yeah. So then we have the bull, which rules the throat and the thyroid, and the throat chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Taurus is just very much, I mean, you'll notice a lot of famous singers are Taurus. I have been learning more about my thyroid as Venus has been transiting through Taurus.
Mm.
So definitely like thyroid issues or thyroid imbalances can show up with Taurus. What else would you say, Lori?
Yeah, so it's the neck in general or anything connected to the neck. It's also the tonsils, the thyroid, the vocal cords, the lower jaw, according to most. So I've noticed that people who struggle with TMJ or like lockjaw or
Mhm.
any kind of issues with like clenching their jaw too much, that could be an Aries or a Taurus issue, depending on reasoning or some other things like that. Um, but also like yeah, taste and swallowing and Taurus risings specifically, but any prominent Taurus, they often have like a sturdiness to them. They
Mhm.
look they look
Like they're
sturdy.
built, like they're
They're built.
earthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's often like a something prominent about your neck. It could either be really long or thicker, or there's no neck at all. Um, you notice things like that. You might put a lot of tension or pressure on your neck or have like a lot of tension like through the back of your neck. Um, and yeah, and like you said, like a lot of singers have heavy Taurus energy, but it's really like singers, speakers, or anybody who works with food. Because to me, like
Mm-hmm.
since Taurus
Taurus,
is the throat,
totally.
like
Yeah.
it rules food. So yeah, there's definitely this energy around like cooks, chefs, bakers, um,
Especially like a
restaurant
Taurus
workers.
Cancer combo.
Yeah, that's a very
So good
Taurus
for food.
Cancer. Yes. Yeah, or just like
Yeah.
yeah, doing something where you're taking care of or feeding others. Um, yeah, I've noticed that a lot of Taurus people, I mean Taurus like Venus needs a lot of self-love, self-care,
Mm-hmm.
like sweeter things. So, leaning into little indulgences or like teas or things that can soothe the throat.
Hmm.
A lot of Taurus heavy people had like speech impediments as a kid, or maybe struggled with their speech or struggled to use their voice. Um, there could definitely be some sort of theme around your voice. Or there could be something like having to get your tonsils out or losing your voice frequently or having like sore throats, getting sick a lot, or yeah, any of that kind of stuff shows up
Yeah.
heavy with Taurus people.
Also, Taurus is sleepy. Like I feel like Taurus
Yeah.
people can struggle with like being a little lethargic or having the motivation to get going. It's like, Aries is too
Mhm.
motivated and needs to just like sit down and take a nap. And then Taurus
Yeah.
is like a little too snuggled up and cozy and maybe they could benefit from going and getting more done.
Yeah.
And then yeah, being Venus ruled, it is like Venus is very much about like the little pleasures day to day, like really enjoying your cup
Mhm.
of coffee, getting some like really nice coffee beans that you freshly grind and just like taking in the aroma, taking in the whole experience.
Yeah, like a whole
And
sensory experience.
exactly, Taurus is so sensory, it's so earthy. So it's like, what can you
Yeah.
see, feel, smell, the things, hear, eating delicious food, feeling connected with a
Mhm.
loved one, making beautiful art, like spending time in nature. Like those are really nourishing Taurus
Mhm.
experiences. And so that's something to honor. Also, people, both Taurus and Libra being ruled by Venus can have a bit of a sweet tooth.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
overindulgence can definitely show up. I mean, it shows up a lot with Venus and Jupiter in general. So when you look at the two Venus ruled signs or the two Jupiter ruled signs, you're going to notice themes of indulgence, maybe for different reasons. Um, but they definitely have a theme of like too much of a good thing sometimes.
Yeah. And Kira Sutherland actually did a really interesting talk at NORWAC a few years ago about how in medical astrology we're seeing more Venus and Jupiter issues in modern day because we just have access to so much. Like there's the
Yeah.
amount of sugar we can consume now is so different than it was like 2000 years ago, right?
Oh,
And so
that's an
it's not
interesting
even
point.
really like Mars and Saturn. Like obviously they're always going to be causing problems because they're Mars and Saturn, but it's like we're
Right.
actually seeing a lot of Venus and Jupiter issues now, which is
Yeah.
interesting to reflect on.
I
Um,
actually, we could do a whole episode on that. I have so much to say about the excess of
yeah,
Jupiter and Venus and
as
how they can
someone who
actually be
has,
so difficult.
yeah, I have four personal planets in Sag and Pisces, so I feel it. It's like too much sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then herbs to help with Taurus, throat herbs, thyme is an incredible throat herb. I am putting together
Mm.
a presentation on like herbs that we grow in our garden easily and how medicinal they are. And hopefully we can turn that into a podcast soon. But it's
Yeah.
like the herbs that you can easily find in like the grocery store in your kitchen cabinet. amazing. And then if you can grow them and they're fresh, even better. But
Yeah.
thyme is just like for colds and flus, sinus infections, throat infections. It's super antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiseptic. Just like inhaling thyme steam, taking like drinking tea with thyme in it, so
Mm,
good when you're having infections. It is
yeah.
warming and drying. And so if you have like a hot, dry condition, maybe don't use too much thyme, and a little goes a long way. Like it is, even though it's like easy to find in your kitchen cabinet, it's a very strong herb. So just like, a little, and avoid a medicinal doses if you're pregnant. But thyme
Yeah.
is a great throat herb, even like energetically, if you have imbalances with your throat or Taurus energy, like growing thyme, drawing thyme, embroidering it, cooking with it in your, food, like bringing thyme into your life can be really helpful. In a very different way, blue vervain is also an herb that has an affinity for the throat chakra. It's incredibly bitter, and it's more of like a very calming, relaxing. Like I love blue vervain tincture for sleep. Actually, it just really
Mm.
calms you down. And it's usually best as tincture because it is so bitter. But it like I was taught, and I will confirm, I mean, I'm kind of like this in general, but blue vervain makes you speak your truth. So like if you like need to
Mm.
hold your tongue, like if you like don't like your boss and you can't speak back to them, or like you don't want to be speaking your truth, like do not take blue vervain. But it is really
Interesting.
good for helping you like if you have like stuck energy in your throat chakra and you like need to like speak your truth and express yourself and calm like your neck and shoulder tension, like blue vervain is like
Mm.
chef's kiss herb.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
guess for like the sugar sweet tooth stuff,
Yeah.
cinnamon is an excellent blood sugar herb, which is cute because we
Mm.
bake with cinnamon. So if you have a sweet tooth and you like to bring sugar into your life, maybe interacting with cinnamon too can be a supportive way of balancing that out.
Yeah. Um, awesome. Yeah, and like just going back to some issues you may experience if you have a lot of Taurus energy, but like yeah, like sore throats, tonsillitis, thyroid imbalances. I've noticed a lot of like slow metabolism or
Hmm.
like issues with metabolism of some sort. Or a really fast metabolism. I guess it could go the other direction. Lymphatic drainage is a big thing that I think a lot of Taurus people need. There's also a lot of like mucus and congestion.
Yeah,
Um,
like Taurus holds on to stuff. It's hard to get
yes, it's
movement.
hard to let it
Yeah.
out. And see, speaking of oppositions, it's the same thing.
Hmm.
Because Scorpio does the
Is
same
the
thing,
one
but
who
the
lets
other
it
end.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to take stuff through your throat for it to go
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
exactly. And they, I know. See, the more you think about it, it's
Yeah,
actually
the
really
balance is
fascinating.
beautiful.
It's very cool. Um, yeah. But then, yeah, of course, the neck stiffness and the vocal strain, I think, are the two biggest ones.
Hmm. For sure.
A
Um,
lot of Taurus people I know struggle with their weight too, or like
yeah.
a lot of like eating disorders and stuff, I feel like come from Taurus energy. Um, that I've seen that a lot, especially something that I think about a lot. This could be its own episode. Um, is the Chiron and Taurus generation
Mm,
because they were like teens in the 90s when diet culture was such a thing.
yeah.
So that's something that like one day when I have a lot of extra free time, I really want to do like a study on that. Like I want to look
Yeah.
into that deeper because it's like that entire generation that really pushed that diet culture, all had Chiron in Taurus. And they're about to have
Interesting.
their Chiron return as Chiron moves into Taurus.
Mm.
And so I've been
Oh,
thinking
and we're
about it
just in
extra.
we're in this really toxic place with all those like diet shots and diet pills where people
Exactly.
can just make themselves so small. And like I see
Correct.
moms who like brag
Yeah.
about being able to fit into their 12-year-old daughter's clothing, and it
Yes.
just like
Yeah.
tear. And then, postpartum, like I've put on weight, I'm holding on to weight because I'm breastfeeding and my
Hmm.
body's ready for a famine. And it's been a really interesting thing of like grappling with my body and my body image and really seeing my body as like very beautiful and very, very strong.
Right.
And yes, I do not look like a prepubescent girl because I just gave birth, right? And that's good.
Right.
But it is this whole reframe because our culture um really wants girls like women to look like they're 12 years old. And if they don't, then, there's a lot of shame and pressure put on us. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds with Chiron and Taurus, especially.
Yeah. Yeah, because that is something that I've noticed a lot, like in my clients especially, is like whenever I've had clients sit down and like eating disorders have come up a lot, I've just noticed that they often had Chiron and Taurus or were like part of that generation. And I think it was there for a long time because Chiron
And
has kind
slow
of like
moving.
it's a slow moving, but it also has a wonky orbit. So it
Mm-hmm.
stays in Aries and Taurus longer than it moves through some other signs. Because, like, I have Chiron and Leo, and, like, it was only there for like a year or two. But meanwhile, like, it's been in Aries for like 10 years, it feels like. So,
Yeah, it has.
yeah, so it definitely has like a wonky orbit, and it was in Taurus for I think 7 or 8 years.
Interesting.
In like the 70s. So, yeah. So that has kind of made me look at Taurus differently because even people who don't have Chiron and Taurus, I have noticed it's always Taurus that has something to do with disordered eating of sorts
Hmm. Interesting.
or problems with eating on either end.
Mm-hmm. Which makes
Like,
sense because yeah, Taurus is the food and it's how you take things in.
right.
Um, Interesting. Okay, should we move on to Gemini?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so then I had to like double check. I was like looking at this. I'm like, that's not Gemini. It's over here.
Mhm.
So here's the
Oh,
twins.
I know.
Um,
Why did they do it like that?
to keep it all close to like Gemini still near the
Yeah.
top, I guess. But Gemini rules the shoulders and the arms and the hands, kind of our twin things that go out, which we already kind of spoke to in the beginning, but that can really just speak. I feel like people who have strong Gemini or strong Mercury energy like are really good with their hands in some way, whether they're like a handyman or
Yeah.
woodworker or an embroiderer or just doing things with your hands. It also makes me think like Gemini is the quintessential like ADHD energy and like fidget spinners or like needing to do stuff with your
Yes.
hands like as someone who has ADHD and like I need to keep my hands busy
Yes.
talking with your hands which like I have Mercury on the ascendant so there's like and I do that quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
And then yeah, just like focus on shoulders and arms as well. And so, if you have like Mars and Gemini, then you might have like needed shoulder surgery at some point or have really strong muscular shoulders. So things like that.
Yeah, I like to think of it as, Gemini is the twins. It's the first mutable sign. And it's the first part of your body that splits. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the first time the body splits into two. So it's your shoulders, your arms, your fingers, your hands, but it's also the lungs
Oh,
and
yes, yes.
yeah, and your like bronchial system.
Hmm.
So it rules over like breathing and yeah, like and technically the nervous system I think is
Yeah,
usually placed with
totally.
Gemini. It's definitely Mercury.
But
Some
it's
place
a
it with
bit more
Aquarius
Gemini.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then like speech and communication pathways because
Hmm.
of the lungs, its connection with the lungs. And then of course, like it does kind of connect to that Taurus throat space because it has to come in and out.
Yeah.
Um, so, yes, a lot of Gemini energy is definitely like I've noticed a lot of like picking. Like they pick at their fingers, they bite their nails, they often develop like some sort of oral fixation, or they'll pick at like scabs or their face, especially Gemini risings. Um, and I've also noticed like something prominent about their shoulders. I actually had a crazy amount of people comment on my TikTok video that said that they had lung issues or asthma as a kid that were all Geminis, which makes sense, but I had just never really thought about that. Um, and yeah, any kind of like bronchial issue as well. So like losing your voice and stuff could also be Gemini.
Hmm.
Um, any kind of like, yeah, speaking or like nervous energies, stuff like
Yeah.
that.
And this is, I feel like, a great time to talk about nervines and herbs for the nervous system. We actually did a
Yeah.
whole episode a few years back with my friend Sanami, who is also an herbalist, talking about astrology and nervines and the nervous system. So definitely recommend checking that out because there are so many herbs that are so good for the nervous system. One of my favorites is skullcap. It's in the mint family. It's pretty gentle, but it's very relaxing, even to just make a skullcap tea. And it's also a neurotropho restorative. So both skullcap and
Mhm.
milky oats help rebuild your nervous system and restore frayed nerves, which is just, I mean, everyone's like nootropics, nootropics, and I'm like, literally just grow some skullcap in your yard. Like you don't need some fancy like supplement off the internet for that. But
Right.
yeah, skullcap's fantastic about that. Milky oats as well, which it's best to get milky oats as a tincture because it's literally oats, which like oat straw also drink like every day when you steep it
Mm,
overnight. And drink it as a nutritive tea. It has a lot of vitamins and minerals that are really supportive for the nervous system. And then the milky oats are this part of the oat plant that every spring for a short period of time, they create this white, milky latex sap. And that is what's like the really good nervous system restorative part of the plant. And so getting it in a tincture, so it's, preserved year round, just taking milky oat tincture every day is like such a good, it's not skullcap's more like if you're like I'm anxious you can take it and it'll bring you down, whereas
mm,
like milky oats is something that over time feeds your nervous system so you're more able to handle stress. And going back to Aries and like adrenal fatigue and burnout, like yes, adaptogens are good, but also bringing in the nervines and like feeding your nervous system and taking things that help just like bring things down day to day is good. And so yeah, so
yeah.
there's skullcap. I also love lemon balm and tulsi both as daytime calming teas. Blue vervain, like I already talked about. And then like you can look up, there's a million like nerve herbs are really good with the nervous system and the digestive system in particular. I mean, herbs are great with a bunch of stuff, but like especially I find that herbs tend to be better than a lot of more modern medicine stuff when you're just trying to tend to your nervous system. Because they're
Hmm.
not quite as aggressive. Like we don't all need to like be taking Xanax all the time. Like if you do need Xanax,
Right.
take it. There's a reason it exists. It's supportive for people, but like a cup
Right.
of skullcap tea in, the evening might actually be all you need.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's a good, that was something I kind of meant to say at the beginning, but like I do feel like our our medical system, America, they love to diagnose and
Hmm.
give medications. And I think so much of this, like, if you just understand your body through like what your chart is trying to tell you,
Hmm.
more often than not, you can find ways around it without having to diagnose anything or
Yeah. And or even just like supporting, right? Because with
right,
medical astrology and understanding your chart and how that corresponds to your body, that can help you identify imbalances where you're like, oh yeah, I do have a lot of Aries. I do get into this really adrenalized place and then I burn myself out. And then that
right,
self-awareness can help you make lifestyle decisions that
right.
don't contribute to that.
Yeah.
But also, because I do find I've had people come to me for different readings and services where it's clear they're trying to avoid going to the doctor for an issue that like
Hmm.
should probably be checked out. And like, I personally don't enjoy going to the doctor. I try to avoid it unless it's necessary. But like, if you are
Yeah.
actually experiencing serious problems with your body or imbalances, getting, some diagnostic work done, getting blood work done, talking to medical professionals can be really important and I mean, I personally love naturopaths actually. That's how I identified my thyroid stuff was blood work that
Hmm.
like pointed out that I am experiencing a low thyroid issue right now. So, whatever it is, but don't avoid medical care.
Yeah,
Don't
right,
jump
right,
into like medical astrology when you actually should see a doctor. But medical
right.
astrology can like really help ideally prevent you from needing to go to the doctor by identifying
Right.
imbalances and managing them in your day-to-day lifestyle things. Or if you're like actually needing medical support, it can still like, support and nourish you throughout the process as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a good way to word it too. It's like don't avoid the doctor, but definitely like if you're having a minor issue, understanding why it might be happening,
Yes, getting to
then
the root of it because the doctors tend to
exactly.
not do that. And the astrology can help you
Right.
like really kind of go at it from a different angle. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you don't need to go to the doctor and you just need a cup of skull cap tea, that's awesome. Good.
Right,
Hopefully the tea helps and
right.
then you don't
Yeah,
need the
great.
doctor anymore. But
We love that.
um yeah.
Yeah.
Other
Awesome.
other thoughts about Gemini? At this point, I think this episode is just gonna go through Virgo and then we'll have to do Libra through Pisces, another so that we can give all the signs their time.
Yeah, that's fair. It would be a very long episode. Um, yeah, well, I would definitely say like Gemini energy is very prone to anxiety or nervous tension, or just like having a lot of nervous energy in general. Insomnia or being overstimulated definitely can come with Gemini, or like trembling,
Mm-hmm.
nervous, just nervous energy, like not really knowing what to do with your energy, um, needing to have sorts of like yeah, ways to release and let go, basically.
Yeah. And you think like Gemini's ruled by Mercury, who's Hermes, who had an affinity for like athletic clubs and particularly young men
Yeah,
exercising in ancient Greece. But that you don't have to be a young man to exercise, right? So it's like
right.
similar to Aries. I feel like a lot of that advice for Gemini is like movement, like Aries and Gemini, air and fire and air, like they're active, they move. And so creating avenues to move and release that energy. And like Gemini in particular, like fun facts, listening to an interesting podcast, stimulating the mind, but also like letting the monkey mind run and then maybe doing a meditation and coming back into that Taurus energy and like
Mhm.
coming into your body so you're not too, out in the ether with Gemini,
Yeah,
especially with all of us as Uranus enters Gemini.
right.
And then particularly with the lung affinity breathing exercises can be super, super nourishing, I think, for all of us as we move through this Uranus and Gemini
Yeah,
era, but also just people who have strong Gemini, or if you're in a Gemini perfection year, or there's a big conglomerate of Gemini planets by transit, just
yeah,
breathing exercises. And I'm just going to quickly share some because we're Gemini, so we're being fast. But one, breathe into your diaphragm, breathe into your belly.
yeah.
It can be helpful to breathe in, hold it for a bit, take a sip, and then breathe out. There's actually studies that show that like deep belly breath, hold, sip, breathe out is
Mhm.
really good for activating your rest and digest nervous system. You can
Yes.
do square breathing where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold 4 seconds, breathe out 4 seconds, hold four
Hmm.
seconds. I like alternate nostril breathing where you cover one
Hmm.
nostril, breathe in, switch, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril, switch, and just doing that. But yeah, breathing techniques can be really helpful for Gemini.
Yeah, and I would also say like I've seen a lot of repetitive strain on shoulders or arms,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to yeah, just like overuse injuries. It feels very Gemini in general, but like
Yeah.
especially with the like wrists. And I've noticed a lot of Geminis either have like really strong, thick wrists or really like thin, weak wrists. I know somebody who has like the thinnest, weakest wrists, and she's like always working on trying to like strengthen them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, or just even having like some nerve pain and stuff in your arms.
Mm-hmm.
But just making sure that you're not like, yeah, doing too much to overdo it, but also like you need to work out your hands and arms if you have a lot of Gemini energy. Like you send your attention to your shoulders so much, and like this area is just gonna get so like heavy and weighted.
Yeah. And getting a nice, like, I get a nice CBD oil and I massage my neck and shoulders every night. So that can be a really nourishing
Yes,
practice for all of us,
absolutely.
honestly. I invite you to go do that. It's great.
Yeah, even if you
Um,
don't have Gemini placements, you probably need that.
okay, should we move on to Cancer?
Yes.
Okay, so now we got the crab. And Cancer rules the chest and the breasts, breastfeeding, lactating, everything around like mothering in general, but for all of us, our
Mhm.
breasts and our chest, and the stomach, which is interesting because once we get to Virgo, that's like the small intestine and more digestive. And so there's this overlap between Virgo and Cancer
Yeah.
of like
Well, I
what's
think
how we're digesting
Cancer,
things.
yeah, Cancer's the upper digestive tract and a Virgo's the lower digestive tract.
Yeah, I definitely think of Virgo as a small intestine because it's the thing that
Yeah.
like breaks everything down into small bits, which is what
Hmm.
Virgo does. But Cancer definitely rules the stomach, and then they have
Hmm.
overlap of how they,
It
there's a
depends on who
lot
you
going on
ask
there.
as
Yeah,
well, right? And
exactly.
this is one of those nuances. Um,
But Cancer has something to say about digestion, that's for sure.
yeah. Yeah, and like yeah, the diaphragm,
hmm
like you said, the chest, breast, stomach, um, and then like fluids, body fluids, and
Yeah.
lymph.
hmm
Um, and Cancer, like it is the crab. So if you have a Cancer rising or you have heavy Cancer placements, you either look like the moon or you look like the crab. And so there's like two very different types of Cancer energy. And it's really interesting. There's like the motherly, like round face, round body, like no sharp edges kind of energy, or like looks, I guess. Very like open and loving Cancer looks. And then there's the crab one, and usually the crab looking Cancer risings, which is definitely me, um, were kind of like hard and pointy. Um, and yeah, there's either like a big chest, like big boobs, or small boobs, but something to be said about them, or a strong stomach or a weak stomach. It's always been a joke in my family that I could eat anything and nothing's ever bothered my stomach. It's very, very strong. And yeah, and a lot of the crab Cancer risings often have like a six pack or just like a very hard like stomach or shell because there's always that like more protective energy around that Cancer rising.
hmm
Um, it's very like, yeah, either very protective or very open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like, we were just talking about nervous system herbs. So, digestion herbs might be helpful too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of overlap because a lot of your nervous system is in your stomach. Like it's like your second brain. Um,
Right.
but a lot of the herbs we cook with, surprise, surprise, excellent for digestion. So, thyme, oregano, rosemary are all really good at stimulating, supporting digestion.
Mm.
Ginger is really, really good for that. Most any mint family plant, which is like thyme, oregano, and rosemary are all mint family plants. I will say with mint family plants, particularly mint, if you have heartburn or acid reflux, you actually don't want to be taking it's if they're carminative is what you want to avoid because that stimulates a lot of stomach acid to digest stuff. And so if you have too much, it's already coming up,
Mm.
you actually don't like at that point you might want more some like marshmallow root, chamomile. Those chamomile actually also is a fantastic digestive herb. Everyone thinks of chamomile for like calming stuff, but
Mm.
chamomile is really, really helpful for digestion as well. And then like food, like bugs and stomach bugs, like fennel and oregano both are
Yeah.
really antiseptic. And so they can help you kind of kick a gnarly bug if your stomach is just off.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and then like other Cancer issues could be like indigestion or like acid imbalances, stomach cramps.
Hmm.
nausea from stress, like any of those type of things. So yeah, all the things that you just listed would be really good for any of that.
Totally.
Um,
I feel like also like emotional stress can be very Cancer. Like water is
yes,
just so heavy and like getting emotionally distressed, feeling like you're like in this tide pool of intense emotions that like change and are
right.
very, shifting. Cancers are really, really protective of their loved ones and want to feel safe in relationships. And so like really just prioritizing your emotional security and stability is very important for strong Cancer placements.
Yeah. Yeah, and like water retention in general, I feel
Hmm.
like I actually was laughing about this the other day, but my mom has always commented about how much my weight fluctuates.
Hmm.
And I've I don't know why, but I've always been a person that like I will have a huge appetite one day or week, and then the next week I have no interest in eating, and it's just like always kind of ebbed and flowed, and I've always just kind of naturally like gone along with whatever my body was telling me that day. And so I've had like she used to make comments that sometimes she could tell when I had an appetite because my face would get round, and then when I didn't, my face would get really long. And I like I remember her like first saying that and being like, that's a weird thing to say. But now that I understand astrology and I know I'm a Cancer rising, I'm like, oh, that's interesting that she's pointed that out because that's very Cancer.
It literally makes me think of the moon and like that
Right,
emoji of the moon face being like
right,
round, but then sometimes
right,
the moon's waning.
right. I know. And I remember being like, should I be offended by that comment? But now that I understand astrology, I'm like, oh, that's like really funny that she said
That
that.
is really funny.
Um, Yeah, because it's true. And I feel like every Cancer heavy or Cancer rising specifically, like we all experience that constant change, like not even just with our emotions or with what's going on in our lives, but like also with our bodies. Like all
Hmm.
just everything's different every day. And you
Hmm.
kind of just never know how you're gonna feel or what you're gonna want.
Hmm.
Um, Another big one, I actually noticed this because of my brother, but he has like a crazy Cancer stellium. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Jupiter, Mars. He's got like five or six placements in Cancer, and he gets like a chest tightening whenever he gets stressed out.
Mm.
Like his chest, like he um he always claims that like he can barely breathe because his chest is tightening in on him.
Mm. Interesting.
And I've definitely had that too. I've noticed it a bit like when I get really stressed out or like scared about something, I do feel like I notice it in my chest, but I wouldn't have ever noticed it unless he made that comment.
Interesting. And I'll just share this as a like practice for folks like EFT
Hmm.
tapping. I
Yeah.
find so, so nourishing and particularly on my chest. Like honestly, like just
Hmm.
tapping and also like the top of my head. And you can look up YouTube videos. Like there's so many cool EFT things out
Yeah.
there. But like if you get like also heart palpitations, which is more into the Leo side of things, but if you get like
Yeah.
intensity in your chest, like tapping and deep breathing actually can really bring you down. And it's something you can do just like in the moment. So
Yeah. Yeah, I've been watching videos on that. It's so interesting.
very cool.
But it can definitely help you.
Yeah.
Um,
Leo?
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was there anything else with Cancer? Um, I don't think so. Yeah, just
There's
like
so much that I could say about Cancer as a new mom, and I feel like that
I
could be its own
know.
episode, honestly, talking about like the moon and Cancer and mothering and all of that. But there's a lot
I
there
know.
of
There's
as
so
far as like
much
parenting
there.
and nurturing. But
Yeah, and I feel that way too. Like I was like there's so much I could say as a Cancer rising and like
yeah.
learning to take care of yourself, but then that's probably a different episode
Honestly, we
as
should just
well.
do a whole episode on like nurturing, like maybe when Venus and Jupiter
Yeah.
and Cancer.
Oh, that would be cute.
That would be really cute and just like nurturing and mothering and
Yeah.
how to like nurture yourself and how to understand how you like to be nurtured and extend nurturing to others and It'd be a very cute episode. So,
That would be a cute episode.
um, let's move on to Leo though, so we stay on
Yeah.
track. Okay, so now we got the lion over here, which again, I was like, where are like this is not in the order, but that's the lion.
I know, it's so weird.
So Leo rules your heart, your cardiovascular system, your
Mhm.
spine, and also I would just say your solar plexus for obvious reasons because it's your solar plexus. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the center of the chest, the upper back, and like I said at the beginning, like circulation can go with Leo
mm-hmm.
and
Because it's your
Aquarius.
cardiovascular system, your blood
Yeah, it's your
pumps.
heart.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Mars also is just associated with blood. So there's overlaps in many ways, but
There's a lot of
yeah.
overlaps for sure. Um, yeah, and also like vitality feels very
Yes,
Leo in general.
totally. Yeah, because I mean, the sun is what allows for life to exist on Earth, right? And so Leo's having really
Right.
vitalizing energy, it feels. And, from like a herbal perspective, like vitalism, which is the
Yeah,
lineage I'm trained in of like how do you cultivate vitality? Very, very Leo.
yeah, that is very Leo.
And I will also, we were talking a lot about eyesight with Aries, which also makes sense because when I think about the
Hmm.
eyes, for me, I'm like, well, that's the sun because the sun creates light
Mm.
that allows you to see things through your eyes, which makes sense with Aries because that's the place of the sun's exaltation. But I would also put some eye
Mhm.
stuff in with Leo and the sight as well. Just,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, the association with the sun definitely makes sense.
mhm.
And like sinus pressure and stuff is associated with the sun. So I feel like
Yeah,
that could be Aries exaltation showing up again, or it could be a connection with Leo.
yeah, or a bit of both.
Um, or a bit of both. I have heard so many Leo risings talk about how they had like some sort of open heart surgery or like
Mm,
issues with their hearts when they were babies, or adults, obviously, but like a lot of young children who are Leo risings, I guess, had some heart or spine issues, which I think could make sense. It could also be like heart strain in general, either having a really strong heart or like heart attacks or things like that can all fall into it.
hmm
Blood pressure issues,
hmm
definitely. Any kind of like circulation problems, or I think like when I think of overexhaustion or like overdoing or burnout, like that feels very like sun, like
mm,
Leo and Aries as well.
hmm And then, the spine, I know someone who's a Leo rising, or no, they're a Scorpio rising with Mars in Leo. So this is an example of
Mm,
how your ascendant ruler, the sign your
yeah,
ascendant ruler in is in the sign your ascendant ruler is in can say a lot about
so much.
what medical stuff you're experiencing. And this person,
So,
had scoliosis as a child and then got into a pretty bad car accident in their 20s that created long-term back issues. And so like
oh,
protecting your spine and
interesting.
focusing on like the health of your back. And I also feel like a lot of people with prominent Leo energy like have really good posture as well and like have
Mhm.
straight spines. But I mean that can be a way that we can
Or really
all
curved spines.
yeah, like the spine is focused in some way. But that can be a way that we can all honor Leo energy, especially as the South Node is
Yeah.
moving into Leo and we're going to start having South Node eclipses in
Yeah.
Leo over the next few years is like somatic posture work and just,
Yeah.
feeling the different parts of your spine like kind of separate and spread. And like my yoga teacher always invites us to like feel the sunlight on your chest and like hold yourself in that way and like hold yourself
Yeah.
in your regal Leo energy can be a good way to cultivate more Leo energy. But
Yeah.
also especially Mars in Leo, Saturn in Leo,
Yeah.
protect your spine, just do things. We should all protect our spines, but especially if you're
Yeah.
someone who might be more prone to spine or back issues,
Yeah.
making
Or
sure
like
you have good form and good posture when you're moving through the world and you're not doing anything too risky for your back.
Yeah, definitely like heart openers in yoga, like back bends and
Yeah.
chest openers. But yeah, I definitely noticed a lot of people on the TikTok video I made about Leo. They were joking about like being a shrimp, like their spine just being so curved and
Mm.
like having like the opposite issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely made a comment like you need to like fix your posture and like stand tall and like shine like the sun. And I feel like there's a tendency that is especially prominent in women. But like you, a lot of women want to make themselves feel smaller,
Hmm.
to fit in or for whatever reason. So like shrinking or curving, can really like affect confidence, obviously, but it really bleeds into that like that Leo strong spine, like
Hmm.
standing tall type of energy. So like finding different ways to balance that out and not curve too much, not get too
Yeah.
stuck in that space. And I've had a lot of friends who are Leos who've had like a like disc issue in their lower back or
Mm-hmm.
like had like something going on with their spine. So just like, yeah, being careful not to overextend or overstretch or overdo.
Yeah.
Finding like a good balance within that is going to be really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then with cardiovascular health, again, talk to your doctor if you have any heart issues, make sure these are safe for you to take. But hawthorn is a fantastic tonic for the heart. Just taking a little bit of hawthorn tincture daily is like food for the heart, and it can help
Mm.
with pressure and cholesterol. It can help like open your heart space and help you process grief. So like both physically and energetically, hawthorn can really feed your heart. Garlic, fantastic heart herb. Just putting like when I read recipes and it's like a whole thing of meatloaf calls for 3 cloves of garlic, and I'm like, what nonsense is this? Like I put so much
Right.
garlic in my food. Um, and it can be really nourishing for the heart. Linden is kind of expensive for teas, but it is delicious. It is safe for most people. It's a really good heart tonic. Motherwort, really good postpartum herb, really good for people like stepping into motherhood or nurturing or who are having like mothering wounds. Not safe during pregnancy, but other than that, motherwort's fantastic and really good for the heart as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Anything else about Leo?
Um, I don't think so. Yeah. Oh, the noticeable hair. Actually,
Oh,
that's,
yeah, like your mane.
yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something too. Like, I've noticed that. So Saturn actually rules the hair and the hair follicles.
Mm.
So it's interesting because I think like when it comes to Capricorn or Aquarius, um, which we can revisit this when we get to those, but they have like I've noticed like Aquarius has really thick but probably stringy hair, and Capricorn often has thinner hair, or they lose their hair when they're stressed, or
Mm.
they have like dull or flatter hair, whereas people who are ruled by the sun or the moon or have a lot of like Cancer or Leo energy have like radiant or shiny, or like Cancer has really reflective hair, Leo has really big noticeable hair, or like red hair or something like prominent about it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like the differences in hair shows up based off of those two things. And like you can
Yeah.
look at combinations of those signs as well.
It's really interesting. Yeah, my baby is a Leo rising and she was born with so much hair. And her
Yeah.
hair, like she's not even 6 months old, and we're like, we gotta cut your hair, girl. And like that's one of the first things people, especially when she was tiny, because most babies are bald, and people are like, oh my God, the hair. So yeah,
Yeah.
little Leo rising, first thing ever notices is her lion mane.
Right. Yeah, I was born with like jet black thick hair as well. I think it's
Crazy.
definitely a sun or moon thing.
Luminary, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very
Um,
interesting.
okay. Well, Virgo, honestly, all I think of with Virgo is digestion. I don't know. If I guess like a little bit of nervous system stuff with Mercury, and then like I already said, your nervous system and your digestion are so interconnected. But would you add anything
Yeah.
to that,
Yeah.
Lori?
Yeah, so it's the intestines in general, and then the lower digestive tract, because technically the upper digestive tract is connected with Cancer still. It's your ability to absorb nutrients, and like gut processing, and a little bit of like waste elimination, but that's mostly Scorpio, but there is a
Mhm.
little bit of that too. And the body's like purification systems, like the way that your
Mm.
body like re takes care of itself. And the way that I like to think about it is like your intestines are like this inside of you, and if you unravel them, they're super long, and that feels very Virgo, like having to
Uh-huh.
like digest through something before you feel confident or speak up about it kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of Virgos get IBS or like
Correct.
nervous digestive issues, or your stomach's just like tied up in knots because you're like trying too hard to digest it all and there's nervous
Yes.
tension. Um,
Virgo is the most likely sign, in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, to manifest their health issues. I
yeah,
I
that makes
see it
sense.
every time.
Hmm.
Like with every other sign, I feel like it's either one extreme or the other, and most people you talk to like will fall on one side of the spectrum, but Virgo always has tummy issues.
It's so literal.
Yeah, like I
Yeah,
don't think I could name you a single person with even one Virgo placement that didn't manifest some sort of digestive issue at some point in their life.
yeah,
It's not always activated, it's not always happening, but it's definitely like something that they've all experienced. Whereas, like, I feel like some of the other signs you can kind of not. And I think
hmm,
it's really because like Virgo also like kind of rules over like OCD, like the a lot of the overthinking or overanalyzing like really shows up through the
hmm,
stomach and the gut. And it's like your gut is how you like process everything, right? Like it
hmm,
tells you when something is wrong. And so when that is having issues, it can create a lot of bigger problems,
yeah,
which obviously like can show up as like food sensitivities or constipation, or just like intestinal irritations, digestive system problems. And it really just all comes from stress and overthinking and the overprocessing. It's the feminine internal manifestation of Mercury. So it's
hmm.
like Gemini is going to just like word vomit it, but Virgo is going to internalize it into the gut.
Yeah. And if you think of like how Earth as an element moves, it like compacts and it moves down. Like it's a heavy element and it's internal and it's cold.
Mhm.
And honestly, everything I've been saying this whole episode from herbal wisdom can be helpful for what we're talking about with like nervous and digestion, right? Like
Yeah.
drinking tea with like skullcap, lemon balm, tulsi can help soothe your stomach, and your nervous system, doing tapping, doing deep breathing, taking time to like analyzing your to-do list and doing less and taking time to assess how much energy you have every day and not being so hard on yourself. So honestly, this whole episode can be like a love letter to Virgos with stomach indigestion issues of like incorporating a lot of these different practices can help to soothe your stomach. I personally, because I have Mercury on the ascendant, so I just tend towards Mercury related issues, and I can definitely get
Mhm.
like nervous tummy aches. And it like got me a lot more when I was young. And thankfully mine aren't too extreme that I'm able to identify them, and like usually just lying down and breathing deeply for like 30 to 60 minutes will make my IBS type stuff go away. I know
Mhm.
that's not true for everyone, but it's worth trying to see if it works for you before you like
Mhm.
go to a million doctors. But yeah, Virgos, and I feel like Virgos and Mercury stuff, like figuring out a way to process whether it's like journaling or movement or talking it out with someone or,
Yeah.
reorganizing your to-do list or whatever. But it's like, how can you create opportunities for like metaphorical digestion so that your body can actually literally digest what it needs to digest as well?
Right. Yeah. That's such a good point. And just like allowing yourself grace with that as well.
Yeah.
And like not forcing yourself to eat things that you know your body's gonna reject.
Yeah. Well, another herb that I will offer too that can be really good for stomach stuff is plantain. Different from like the
Mm.
like banana plantains that you find in Central American food that are so yummy.
Yeah.
This plantain, it's like a weed that grows like
Mm.
everywhere. And if you pick it as a weed, just make sure that it's not in an area that's like been sprayed with chemicals or like pooped on or peed on by dogs or whatever. But it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just it's everywhere. You can also just get plantain like cut and dried as an herb to put in your tea, and it like it drink when you drink it internally, it soothes the whole like internal digestive tract and is like this really lovely
Mm.
balm for your stomach. And it also has quercetin in it, which can help with like your histamine response and allergies as well. Um,
Mm.
Also, celery juice can be a great practice. I was doing this a while ago, and then my partner broke my juicer, and I'm like, ugh, celery juice is a lot of work, but like literally,
Yeah.
like juicing a bunch of celery every morning, drinking that on an empty stomach, and letting it sit as like a balm on your stomach for 30 to 60 minutes before you like take anything else into your body can also be really nourishing for gut, tummy stuff.
Yeah. And even just like consistent schedules and stuff could be good for
Yeah.
Virgo too. Like inconsistencies work very well for Cancer and Aries, but like
But Virgo wants to know what to
Virgo
expect.
doesn't, yeah, like Virgo's not
Yeah,
going to do as well with that. So like meal prepping and stuff like that could be better for Virgo,
for
so you're not like
Virgos.
worried about all of that stuff or like maintenance, like maintaining your daily health habits and
Hmm.
supplements, I feel like are a big, I mean,
Big
that's a
Virgo.
Taurus thing too.
Um, Also, the strength of Virgo and Mercury is breaking things down into tiny digestible pieces and like really zooming in with a
Mhm.
microscope and looking at things close up. And so when
Yeah,
stuff does feel really big and overwhelming, breaking it down into those tiny pieces, you're not going to eat like a whole giant cookie all at once. You're going to like take a piece of the cookie off and eat it. So that
right.
can be just a thing to do in your life too.
Yeah. Yeah, like moderation.
And like one step at a time. Like, yeah, if you might have this
Mhm.
big thing, but like, what can you do now? And then to get to the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Okay.
just caring for your body.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, like Lori already said, being gentle with yourself. I feel like Virgos can be really hard on themselves. So just
Yeah.
give yourself a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will be back with a second episode doing Libra through Pisces. I feel like whenever we try to get through the 12 zodiac signs, it's like, why did we think we could give them all the
I
time they
know.
deserve
Yeah.
in one episode? Um,
I know. And we're always like, oh, we could probably do this in 45 minutes.
yeah, and then it's like an hour and 15 minutes later. But
We get through
yeah,
half.
if any of this resonated with you, please like share your experiences with your rising sign or other prominent energies in your chart and how that's shown up medically or physically in your body. We
Yeah,
always
feel
love
free to
hearing from
message us.
folks. So thank
Yeah.
you for listening and tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any personal stories to share or thoughts and reflections about what we discussed in this episode, please comment down below or reach out to us on Instagram. And please come follow us on Instagram at ConversationsWPlanets, where we share forecasts and updates about the astrological movements happening in the sky, as well as updates about our episodes. The link to our Instagram is in the show notes down below.